This episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by Magic: The Gathering, Duels of the Planeswalkers 2012. Coming up, we've read the comic, now it's finally time for the movie, X-Men First Class.
Today in movies, we're talking about X-Men First Class. So this one is set in the 60s, basically around the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we tell the origin story of the X-Men.
Or an origin story of the X-Men.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And we follow a younger Magneto, played by Michael Fassbender, and younger Professor Charles Xavier, played by James McAvoy. And we have a vast array of characters and actors playing them that I will not list for you. And our big bad guy is Kevin Bacon, played by Sebastian Shaw. No, it's Kevin Bacon playing Sebastian Shaw, leader of the Hellfire Club. And it's directed by Matthew Vaughn. Interesting enough, Matthew Vaughn was supposed to make X3 before Brett Ratner stepped aboard and turned it down at the time, and then gave us two movies that we absolutely adore on the Totally Rad Show, Stardust and Kick-Ass.
Yeah.
So, guys, we
did Stardust. I don't remember that, but yeah.
we talked about the comic book X-Men First Class a couple weeks ago. I don't remember how you guys felt about the first two X-Men. I'm sure you don't love the third one, but
Yeah, I really loved the first one. I mean,
Yeah.
I was like, this is the beginning of awesome superhero movies. Me.
and this movie actually opens on the same exact scene.
Yes.
Is it even the
Yeah.
same exact footage?
I actually thought it was.
I thought it was
I
too.
don't know
think
if
it
it
might
would.
be. But then
if it is, then they'd have to cast that same kid. That kid's not going to be the same age.
That's what was.
Boy, it sure looks exactly the same, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It certainly did.
Yeah.
Golly gee, Jeff.
Golly
certainly
gee,
did.
Jeff Willikers.
So then, what did you think of X-Men First Class?
You know, the funny thing is, I really enjoyed X-Men First Class.
Why is that funny, Alex?
Because there are things about it that I don't know everybody will enjoy. You know what I mean?
Like?
It's like 2 hours and 1,000 minutes.
It's a lot of minutes.
It is a lot of minutes. It's long. It doesn't really. It's sort of. It's a
Just
bunch
over 2
of
hours. By how much?
1,000
minutes.
just a bit outside. So
really long.
it's really long. It's sort of more character-y. Some of the characters are not that great. You know, I mean, as far as the sort of like empathy that you have for them as they build. I mean, there's sort of characters that are in there for like 2 seconds. There's a lot of quick changes. There's a lot of really.
I mean, where they run backstage and change clothes? And
No,
come
where
back
like
out?
all of a sudden it's like this person who's a good guy
like
is
the
like,
music
boom, I'm a
on
bad
that.
guy. And
Oh,
it's like, whoa, that was way quick.
Yeah.
So, and it, you know, it ends up sort of going straight towards where we know they're going to end up in a little bit of a very specific way.
I think we can
But
talk
other
spoilers.
than that-
This review is so late. I think we can talk spoilers.
Well, other than that, I had a freaking blast watching this movie. There are scenes in this movie where I literally was like, wow, the most amazing thing just happened. The use of their powers was unbelievable. I thought that, first off, Michael Fassbender, amazing. I mean, we saw him in Inglourious Basterds and he blew my mind. He was one of my favorite characters in that whole movie. But seeing him here as Magneto, I was like, yeah. And same with James McAvoy. That guy is just, these are just two movie stars waiting to become big movie stars. You know what I mean? They're already movie stars, but you know what I mean. And so I had a blast. And I was really surprised by Kevin Bacon. He was way better than I thought he could have been in that role.
And multilingual.
I was very, very happy. So I had a blast, soup to nuts. I think this is my favorite of the trilogy.
Foragy?
The quadrilogy.
Quadrilogy.
So I had a blast. I loved it. I had fun.
Jeff, how did you, how did you feel about the first couple X-Men movies?
When the first,
Especially now, considering all the other...
yeah, it's changed over time. It really has, because
Yeah.
when that first X-Men movie came out, there really weren't superhero movies.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, the X-Men were it for me. I mean, I loved Spider-Man, Captain America, Thor when I was young. In my teens, the Chris Claremont era, I mean, I had a poster of Wolverine on my wall. I had that Art Adams X-Men, classic X-Men poster on my wall. I was into the X-Men mythology big time. And And when this movie came out, I thought, you know, it's kind of how I feel about the Avengers movie. I thought it was impossible. I thought I would never see an X-Men film, and I would never see Professor Xavier played by Patrick Stewart. It's perfect. It's perfect, right? So I loved it, and in retrospect, I think the movies have waned a little bit, just because I always felt the problem with all the movies, particularly the third one, but all of the movies, is this abundance of riches. They have 40, 50 years of character histories, very convoluted character histories, and the X-Men are a wider array of characters than any other group superhero movie or property. They have tons of side characters. The mutants all fall under the X-Men banner, and there was, I mean, even Marvel Comics did a culling of the mutants at one point, just killing off 90% of them because there was too many at one point. And so they had this rich history, and they had all these characters they could just throw in, just pepper it in. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, Colossus is there now all of a sudden. We need another character just for a one line. Okay, throw in another. And so you lose what's special about each one, because in the comics, of course, you meet each one individually. They all have their own histories, and you have this just, let's just throw everything at the wall. And so they all get kind of watered down. Now, this film falls prey to that a little bit. You have, I mean, Riptide is mostly wasted. He has one of the coolest deaths in all of Marvel Comics history. It's so badass. And he's one of the Marauders originally, not part of the Hellfire
Is that the guy
Club. He has the whirlwind attacks. In the comics, he does his whole body turns into a whirlwind, and he can shoot Chinese stars out of his body. And it's badass. He's one of the coolest deaths ever. Look it up. It was in the Fall of Mutants. Awesome.
Oh, I thought you meant in the movie, and I was like, oh.
No, in the comics. And this Angel character and Darwin, all these characters that exist in the comics, they're just kind of, you know, used as background fodder.
Yeah.
But where this movie succeeds is the strength of the relationship between Xavier and Magneto. The strength, as you said, of those two wonderful, wonderful actors. And this movie has more in common, I think, with a James Bond film than it does with most modern superhero movies. It feels, it's wonderfully set in the 60s. I love it. It's got awesome kind of globe-trotting themes like you see in a Bond film, cool gadgets and mansions and all that stuff. And man, Fassbender could play Bond, dude. He is cool as a cucumber and awesome. There's tons of stuff to like, great set pieces. I don't understand people not liking. There's some cheesy moments, but they managed to do some wonderful things, like justifying Emma Frost's costume. Like, I didn't think that was possible. And Kevin Bacon's great. The big fights are great. I really believe this to be the best of the 4 X-Men movies, and I'm looking forward to them continuing this story and not really worrying about the modern day story.
Interesting. I'm really of two minds with X-Men First Class, because when it began, it was filled with potential for me, from the opening scene that is set in the same place as the first X-Men during the Holocaust, and it was so. First of all, incredible filmmaking. It's rare that I see a sequence of shots that never leave me, that I like learn a lesson from, and I will always remember. And there's a scene between Kevin Bacon and the young Magneto that the way that is shot is, I'm not going to spoil it. I can't describe it because it would spoil it, but oh my gosh, it was incredible. I will never forget it. And the way it affected me, I will never forget. And I was very excited that, wow, he's taking this stuff, you know, it's almost as if Chris Nolan, the way he grounded his Batman is like, we're gonna ground the X-Men, but still they have superpowers. Chris Nolan doesn't play in the superpower world, so I was so excited at the potential of that. But the movie is much more kick-ass than that, as in the movie Kick-Ass. The movie is much more silly, and as you said, very cheesy. You didn't find it to be too cheesy. I did. I found there to be, you know, the movie itself was such a mixed bag for me, because some moments, scenes, shots, special effects were awesome, and then some moments, scenes, shots, special effects were awful to me. So it wasn't like there were things that were decent and things that were awesome. It was sort of like, some things are totally over here.
Feast or famine.
And some things are totally over here. And I found myself dizzy at the end from looking at them. I mean, I didn't know what to think. I was ultimately underwhelmed, but what was cool, okay, I didn't love the characters that they chose to be in this. Maybe they are iconic, but they all felt like B team to me. Darwin, Angel, they all felt like Havoc, okay? Like they all felt like, I've watched a lot of X-Men, I've read a lot of X-Men, none of these characters speak to me, none of these characters, and I say that as being a very casual X-Men guy. So I feel like there's a whole lot, and I kind of feel like they blew their load in X3 because they threw a lot of those. They had a Colossus and Archangel. They had a lot of those guys that were ancillary, but people know from like the cartoon series that they may have grown up with, things like that. So this choice of characters felt like it was its own. It didn't even feel like an X-Men movie at times. Like Darwin and Angel specifically felt like those could have been made-up superheroes in a made-up superhero movie.
Yeah, definitely.
But I did like the tit-for-tat of powers. I think that's what the X-Men movies have done so much better than the Fantastic Four films or other comic book movies. Better than
Avengers has that.
Better than the Better than the Harry Potter films. We got a really fun tit-for-tat of superpowers.
And that's what the comics have always been, especially the X-Men comics, because it's always team versus team, and it's always like use me in your power, and I'll take on that guy because he matches up against me perfectly.
Yeah.
That's what's the fun about those team books. One of the things that I thought was so wonderful about this, and you talk about that opening scene, is this movie does for the trilogy what I wish the prequel trilogy of Star Wars did for the original trilogy, which is it informs it, and I feel richer knowing what I know now. So now when I watch that first X-Men movie and I see Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart have that scene, I'm informed by their relationship.
Totally.
And nothing in any of the episode 1, 2, or 3 in the relationship of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader informs that movie in that same way.
Yeah.
It feels like it enriches it and makes it better rather than taking away.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Definitely.
And I agree, by the way, McAvoy and Fassbender.
Yeah, come on.
Awesome,
So
awesome
great.
in this flick. All right, there we have it. X-Men First Class.
You've been first classed.
You've been schooled.
All right, everybody, be sure to stick around for this day in rad history. But first, we want to thank our sponsors, Jeff Canada.
I hope you heard yesterday's episode where I talked about Duels of the Planeswalkers 2012.
Maybe not. Maybe you need to inform people who didn't get a chance to see that.
Well, we need to tell you because it's coming out on June 15th on Xbox Live Arcade, PC, Steam, and the PSN network. It is the follow-up to last year's massive hit Magic the Gathering game, but it's got all new graphics, all new music, new cards, new decks, awesome new decks, and new multiplayer modes that we're going to go into a little later, but they're really freaking awesome. It's an all-new game building on the success of that first game, and it has a free demo so you can check it out and see if you like Magic. We've been playing it. We got early access thanks to the awesome people at Wizards of the Coast hooking us up. Here's the way it's going to work. It comes out on June 15th. Then a month later, the new core set, the new Magic 2012 core set comes out, and it's got overlap. It got some of the same cards, decks, and monsters, and awesome Magic things.
I like Magic things.
Cards. I already said cards.
Yeah.
It's perfect. You can play Magic face-to-face with actual cards that you've already been practicing on Xbox Live Arcade, PSN, or Steam. And then on September 10th, they're having these awesome events called Magic Celebrations where they're going into hobby stores all around the world and they're bringing players of the video game and the actual physical cards together to have superpowers explode.
It's like a Will It blend.
Awesome. Yeah, we're big fans of Magic. It's an awesome board game and video game mashup. It's really, really fun and cool.
Super fun. Thank you guys so much. Stick around. We will see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Don't miss tomorrow to find out what else is on our radar this week.
Today is June 14th, and on this day in rad history in 1938, a little comic book called Action Comics #1 was released. You probably would recognize the cover. It's of a man clad in blue and red spandex with a cape, holding a car over his head. It was the first appearance of the Man of Superman, Kal-El.
And you get a little choked up when you talk about
I
it.
do.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I do. He's the Man of Tomorrow.
Uber movers.
And if you happen to have a time machine and can go back and get a very mint copy of this comic, you can
You
sell
will be
it
a
for
wealthy man.
Pretty penny.
Yeah. Buy 5. Shit.
Give me one.
That's pretty crazy. Thank you for sending that in at Neil Shaw.